ahead, but we will be thinking about it at that level.
Jim, another question?
Yeah, does the exchange have any influence over the insurers in terms of the physician panel and enrollment for the physicians?
The exchange does not have influence over the insurance department. They still remain autonomous, and that decision ultimately resides with them.
What is the turnaround time in terms of the verification and enrollment of activating a new plan from somebody going on to the site initially to when they get the plan activated?
Yeah, that's another good question. The verification on our site when you're entering the information and pinging the federal data hub, that really takes place in a matter of seconds. It's complicated, but obviously with technology where it is today, it happens very, very quickly, so individuals don't have to sit there and see the spinning pinwheel for 30 minutes. It actually happens fairly quickly. As it relates to enrolling and when that coverage actually starts, that's a great question. For the fourth quarter of the year, if you enroll at any point during that time frame, your coverage will actually begin on January 1st. Now, moving forward, as we get into the first quarter, now remember there's a special sort of a period this year that won't happen in future years where you can still enroll in coverage even in the first quarter. There is a traditional cutoff, which is usually the midpoint of the month for coverage starting at the beginning of the next month. Said differently, if I enroll on January 2nd, I can actually go ahead and get my coverage on February 1st. But if I enroll on January 18th, my coverage actually won't start until the next month after that. And that's based on just standard processing that's already in place. But the fourth quarter, you can enroll and have coverage sitting there for you on January 1st.
Two questions. How will primary care access be assured for this new 150,000 people presumably coming on into the system? And secondly, could you describe a little bit how health insurance companies will be held to a standard of spending the money not on themselves but on claims?
Sure. So on the first issue, this one is an acute issue. I think it's raised, in a whole host of forums. It's in papers, it's in academic studies, and that is this issue of making sure that we have enough primary care physicians to handle current population. Never mind throwing an additional 150,000 folks, into this pot. The exchange itself doesn't necessarily have any authority to dictate, the type of practices people set up or impact that in a particular way. The only thing I can offer you as a comment there is, I think from at least what I've seen, if you look at a state like Massachusetts, which had a similar phenomenon happen whereby they had a large proportion of uninsured, they suddenly thrust them all into the market, you did see the marketplace react and sort of absorb some of those new entrants in a host of different ways. You saw, I think, more reliance on physicians' assistants and other individuals like that to handle additional patients. You saw the emergence of minute clinics and other opportunities like that to handle just kind of some of the more routine kind of questions, etc. And so I'm not saying that that's going to happen here, but if we're looking at other states as examples of how they might handle that new influx, that would probably be a very similar response here. As it relates to kind of holding carriers accountable, I think many of you have probably heard the term minimum loss ratio, or MLR. Really all that does is kind of one of two things. It stipulates that insurance carriers need to spend 80% of all the money that they take in on actually administering care, with the remaining 20% reserved for overall just administrative costs to run the plans, and then obviously a portion of that would be